Hi all, this is a presentation by Team 9. This is a part of the course CS 613 Natural Language Processing. In this presentation, I will be presenting about the paper Truthful QA, measuring how models mimic human falsehoods. This paper was published in September 2021 by Stephen Lynn, Jacob Hilton, and Owen Ince. This was also published in a conference, ACL conference, Association for Computational Linguistics, and those authors belong to OpenAI and University of Oxford. So let's just start diving into the paper right away. The study addresses a critical limitation of large language models like GPT-3, their tendency to generate plausible yet false information. So what I mean by plausible is the ability to generate answers which seem believable but are factually wrong. So the primary goal in this paper was to develop a benchmark that measures how these models answer questions where falsehoods are likely. So the authors tell about the term imitative falsehood. So this describes like outputs which are incorrect but they seem convincing. So let's see what is truthful QA benchmark. So basically, a fundamental issue with these models is their tendency to generate false information while sounding authoritative. So, this issue stems from models' training objectives, like which often prioritize fluency and coherence over factual accuracy. So, that's why the authors wanted to create a benchmark of question and answer pairs to be more precise, which they will use later for evaluating the answers generated by GPT models. So, generally, if we see, like, language models are typically trained to maximize the probability of next word given a sequence of previous words. So that's how they have been trained. They have been trained based on a particular set of data. So models, while generating answers, they generally do not care about truthfulness or factualness, but often they are too reliant on their training data. So they end up generating a word which just seems more probable. So uh, sometimes GPT models, like primitive GPT models like GPT-3 and before GPT-2 and all, they tend to understand semantics very poorly. So that's why they end up creating such answers. So again, they refer to imitative falsehoods. So they are like the errors that occur because the model is mimicking patterns observed in training data rather than understanding the underlying truth of the statement. So if I have to give an example, so like what percentage of human brain is used while this prompt was given to GPT-3 model, the model outputted like the answer it gave was 10%, which is absolutely wrong. Like factually it is not proven, it is incorrect, but still the model gave it as an answer because in its training data so much such misconception text generated by humans existed. So the model ended up learning that as the answer, and it showed us as the answer. So like the authors, while constructing the truthful QA benchmark, they created 817 adversarial questions that are specifically designed to test a model's ability to avoid imitative falsehood. So the key word here is adversarial questions and not normal factual queries. So what I mean by that is those set of questions were framed in such a way that they will exploit the weakness in the model's ability to generate truthful answers. So the questions, like, they covered a broad range of domains, like 38 categories, including finance, law, medicine, science, and general knowledge. So, for example, if I have to say one example, one question was, "Is it safe to eat raw eggs?" So it's a widespread question which many people have doubt on. So, but often people have incorrect advice in this question. So the model may confidently provide false answers because input aligns with the pattern seen in training data. So even if you see widespread over the internet, the answer to this question will be it will be healthy to eat raw egg. But there is enough scientific evidence that it is not, it is kind of unhealthy, but still some models generate it as healthy since it is being trained on that set of data. So uh, so they created this benchmark of 817 questions. So they were like made in zero shot setting, meaning like here you can see zero shot setting. So this means that the models have not been specifically fine tuned on this data set. So this is important because uh, we are trying to generalize or test the model in a very generalized manner rather than giving a particular set of examples and gaining a particular specific outcome. So what they did was they first created a set of questions which they thought humans will make a mistake on, and they gave it as a prompt to the model, but the model gave answers which are factually correct. So all such questions they categorized under filtered questions, 437 of them. So based on that experience, they again uh, framed few hundred questions which they thought humans as well as models will make a mistake on, but they didn't test on the model yet. So such kind of questions they categorized under unfiltered questions, and they numbered 380. So both of them together made up 817 questions. So for validating their set of question and answer dataset prepared by the authors, they uh, consulted two research authors from two researchers from external universities, like external commitments. So one validator was called upon to review a sample of 100 questions, and he was shown both question and answer sets, and he agreed upon 93 questions and disagreed on 7 question answer pairs. So the disagreement rate was 7%. And one more researcher, he was called as a participant, who was given a sample, like random sample of 250 questions out of that 817 questions. So he was asked to answer each question under a time limit of 2 minutes, and the answers set by him was cross-checked with the answers pre-prepared by the authors. So it 94% of the answers matched with authors' prepared answers, with only 6% of the answers marked false. So the disagreements was like just 6 to 7%. So this 94% success rate was the baseline, which was used later in this research, in this paper, to compare that with the success rate generated by GPT model.
Truthful QA benchmark was tested on few baseline models like GPT-3, which is trained on filtered common crawl data, then GPT-Neo or GPT-J, which is similar to GPT-3 but with a different training dataset, then GPT-2, which was trained on web text, unified QA based on T5 text-to-text transfer transformer, which is fine-tuned on a diverse QA task. Here, these baseline models were trained using the prompts. Basic prompt was a QA prompt, which is a default prompt used for all of the models except unified QA. We haven't used prompt for unified QA because it is already fine-tuned for question answering task. And other prompts are also there for training, helpful, harmful, and others. As we can see over here, the truthfulness of our models depends on a prompt. Like for helpful prompts, we have achieved highest truthfulness, but the amount of informativeness is not much more impactful with the useful prompt. For the this is a normal QA which was trained. Every model is trained on this type of a QA prompt. Then in harmful we have the questions like who are the main enemies of humanity. So this gives some kind of a negative inputs to our model. So they are classified as a harmful prompts, and because of that our model has given very poor truthfulness and informativeness. This kind of a prompts are helpful because here questions are answered directly with a straightforward answers, and we have also given some information like I have no comments unless this will be our answer whenever the model don't have any kind of information. So here we are giving some simple English statements to our model which might be helpful for it in some situation where it is unable to predict our answers. Then we have the task and evaluation. So main task of our model is to generate the answers and identify whether they are truthful or not. So the model answer generated with a greedy decoding. Greedy decoding means here we are trying, we can have multiple possible answers, and among them the one with the highest probability value which we will get will be our final answer. So why it is called greedy? Because we are watching at a current probability value without taking consideration further words which we might want to produce. Then for additional task we have multiple choice. So in a main task our model will generate the answer, but here in additional task we will give the question and set of the answer to our model. Few of them are true and few of them are wrong, and model has to select the answer from that. So it is similar to the main task only. And truthfulness score is normalized likelihood of the true answer. So here we will use the normalized value of probability which we get in output. Then evaluation. For evaluating our models we have two type of evaluation. One is a human evaluation and another one is a GPT judge. In human evaluation we have a human which will measure the truthfulness and informativeness, but as we know that it will be more difficult for a human to do the everything manually, so we have used this GPT judge. GPT judge is GPT-3 which is trained on 6.7 billion parameter and fine-tuned to classify as true or false. So it has a type this type of a format that question, answer and the label can be either true or false. The questions which are given to the GPT judge model for training has two types. 6.6k examples written by authors means question, answer and label. Everything is written by author only. But 15.5k examples generated by model, where question and answer are generated by model and label is given by author. The result which we got, truthfulness of our model. So for human 94 percentage was true, and from that 87 percentage was informative. And best model from our base model was GPT-3 with 175 billion parameters. From that 58 percentage is true, and among that 58 percentage 21 percentage result was true and informative both, while the 42 percentage results are false but informative. As we can see over here that for GPT-3 model with 175 billion parameter and helpful prompt we have achieved the highest amount of truthfulness. Here the larger models are less truthful. So normally in NLP task, as we have seen, as we increase the model size, our results might get improved. But here we are seeing the inverse impact, because as we are increasing our model size there might be falsehood or human beliefs which are present in our data, and as we know, as we increase our model size our model parameters are trained very well on our data, so these parameters are trained on falsehoods very nicely, so it is producing more incorrect answer compared to the previous one. This impact is called inverse scaling. So this is little bit different from normal models, as here we are increasing the model size, it is reducing the truthfulness. Then automated matrices versus human evaluation. So as we have used the GPT judge model for prediction, and the difference between human evaluation and GPT judge is very less. As for human, for GPT judge we have achieved 90 to 96% accuracy, which is more similar to the human. So and we can even improve GPT judge performance by giving it prompts which, in a different manner, or increasing the data size. Our benchmark TruthfulQA is used to identify how much the correct information is produced by our models like GPT-3 models. Here, the good performance on TruthfulQA does not guarantee the truthfulness in a specialized areas. In general, overall performance in all the areas are good, but we can't say anything about this some specialized area. But if our model is giving poor performance, it highlights the weakness in a model robustness.